Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and happy Friday. Today is January 22nd, and as you can see from the screen behind me, today you are going to be taking your quiz on author's purpose. Yesterday, you had the opportunity to practice with those passages about Martin Luther King, reading the passages, analyzing them, and then identifying the author's purpose. Today, you guys are going to take an assessment where you guys, again, are going to be reading some passages and you will have to identify the author's purpose. So let's take a look at the blog. You can see by the message, today we will continue Unit 2 and we will be taking a short assessment on your ability to identify the author's purpose for a writing passage. Write down your homework is the do now, and the homework is to complete the author purpose quiz on Google Classroom. Okay, you guys should all be able to finish that in class today. So let's scroll down. Here we have our interactive notebook table of contents. We're not going to be adding a new notebook page today. Instead, what you guys can see here is you're going to be using notebook page 31 on author's purpose to take the quiz. So let's scroll down. Activity number 1 here says author's purpose quiz. The directions, under the directions, I have this reminder there. It's been up there all week for you guys. Remember, authors have a variety of reasons or purposes for writing. And as a reader, it's your job to determine what that purpose is. It will help you to analyze the writing, and it will allow you to make better inferences and conclusions. So your directions, very similar to yesterday. Today you're going to go to Google Classroom and you are going to complete the author's purpose quiz under the classwork tab. Be sure to use your notes from yesterday. Again, that should not say yesterday. That's a typo. It really should say your notes from Tuesday. Okay? And you guys know these are your notebook pages. All right? Make sure that you're using your notes on these quizzes. You can use your notes. I don't expect you to memorize this. I expect you guys to be able to utilize the tools that you are given in order to do this assessment. All right, so let's go over to Google Classroom and let's take a look at this quiz. Okay, here we have under the Unit 2 assignments. Again, on my screen, guys, you can see that I have a lot of assignments already scheduled for you guys. I'm going to scroll past those. The first assignment that you should see today under your Unit 2 tab is the author's purpose quiz. So I'm going to click on the quiz and I'm going to read the directions. The directions simply say this: read each passage, then identify the author's purpose for writing the passage. Okay, now here you go. You can see the quiz. You also can see the picture I used. If you guys have been paying attention, you know that the pictures I have been using have been giving you clues as to what the passages are about. These passages are primarily about fire in some way. Okay? So your directions, again, were already there. You're going to read each one of these passages, and then you just have to simply identify what was the author's purpose. So here you can see, this is question number 1. Now, I'm not going to read the passage to you today because this is an assessment. You're going to need to read these on your own. You're going to need to read them independently. But the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to read the passage. And the question is right here. It says, what is the author's purpose of the following passage? So the passage begins right here. A wildfire. And then it continues. So you're going to read the passage, read it carefully. Then, using your notebook and your knowledge about author's purpose, all you have to do, unlike yesterday's practice, is you just simply need to click. Is this passage written to persuade? Was it written to inform? Was it written to entertain? Was it written to explain? Or was it written to describe? Okay, you guys simply have to pick the appropriate one. And then you can go on to the second passage. There are 5 passages in all, and you will use each author's purpose only once. So let's say you've read passage number 1 and you thought it was to persuade. And you're going through your quiz and you get to another passage, passage number 2, and you read passage 2 and you also think this passage is to persuade. They both can't be to persuade. Only one of them is to persuade. So each answer is only going to be used once. So if I find myself in this situation, I'm going to need to make sure that I'm going back, I'm reading and rereading these passages, and I'm using my notes, and I'm really trying to analyze to decide which one of these passages is to persuade. So with that, you're going to really want to make sure that you review your answers. Don't just go through these, read all of the passages, and then get to the end and hit submit. Your goal of any assessment or of any assignment should not be just to get it done, but to really be able to learn from it and be able to take something away from it. So take your time, like I said yesterday. This is the only assignment for today. So take the time to really understand the instructions. Take the time when you're reading these passages. They're not that long, but they're several sentences each. So this is the equivalent of reading 5 paragraphs. Take the time to read each paragraph. I would personally read it, and I would reread it. Okay? So I would read passage 1. I might make my decision, what do I think it is, and go back and reread that passage to make sure that I can confirm that I do indeed agree with what I originally picked, and before I go on to the next one. And even after I'm done with all 5, I would go back and reread and review each answer before I submit my work. So with that said, this is your assignment for today. Take your time and make sure that you guys do your best. Make sure you hit submit button at the end, okay? We've spent the entire week this week just on author's purpose, all right? Next week, we're going to be moving on to a new topic when it comes to reading informational articles, which is all about text structure, all right? So in the beginning, we learned about how do we read an article, what kinds of vocabulary do we use when we read an informational article, how do we think about an informational article, and how do we summarize an informational article. So this week was focusing on author's purpose and being able to identify the reasons why authors write informational articles. And so this is all building up to next week. We're going to be looking at the structures that authors use to really organize their informational articles. So I look forward to doing that with you guys next week. All right, so you guys, good luck on this assessment. Have a great weekend, and I will see you here on Monday. Bye-bye.